since it was set up, the lechem on the shulchan was set up not according to halacha, it's as if a monkey did it. Why say as if it's a monkey did it? Say it doesn't count. What's the monkey? All of a sudden, the monkey comes into the Yoma. What's the monkey got to do? Says Rashi, Shelo kemitzvato. It hasn't been done according to its mitzvah. Bechisaron zman. It hasn't been done at the right time. Nase kemo shisidro hakof. Yeah, the Rashi is strange. Shelo midato. The idea of a maaseh kof, it's as if a monkey did it, means it's been done without intelligence. It's been done without intention. That's really what a kof is. A kof can do something, but he does it without intention, so it doesn't count. So that's what Rashi says. Shelo midato. Sharei nisdar kodem leil Shabbat ala shulchan b'shah shu mechusar zman. Because these particular chalot were put onto the shulchan before leil Shabbos. They were put days before, in the middle of the week before. That's not the right time for it. So you've put the challah on the shulchan at the wrong time. Well, so I understand it's not the right time. I understand that it's not the right time, therefore it's possible. I'll get that too. I don't understand why it's called maaseh kof, and I don't understand why Rashi says shelo midato. It isn't shelo midato. He put it there. He knew what he was doing. He was putting lechem on the shulchan. It was midato. It was just the wrong time. It's like a person puts on his tefillin in the night time instead of the day. He knows what he's doing. He's putting on his tefillin. It's the wrong time. But it's not shelo midato. What's this mixing up of da'at and zman, of intentionality and timing? Why is that being mixed up? So what's the maaseh kof here? So a maaseh kof is, a kof can imitate. It can imitate amazingly. And the more intelligent the monkey or the baboon, the more precisely it can imitate. And you can train it to imitate amazingly well. It becomes very funny because it watches you and it does exactly what you're doing. But there's one thing a kof can't see and therefore can't imitate. That's the time at which you did it. So you can do something, the kof does it also. But the kof doesn't know. The kof sees you lighting candles, the kof can light candles as well, theoretically. But what he can't do is you realize that you only do that in Erev Shabbos. That he doesn't know. So he lights candles and lights candles and lights candles whenever he wants to. Kof can see you putting on tefillin. You give him a pair of tefillin, he'll probably figure out how to put on the tefillin. It's a maaseh kof. So it doesn't mean he's done any kind of mitzvah tefillin. Of course he hasn't. It's a maaseh kof. It's without intention. But the one thing a kof can't know is when is man tefillin. This time it works. At this time it doesn't work. The Gemara is defining imitation. It's defining artificiality. It's defining fake. And one of the different, maaseh kof is, that's what it is. Maaseh kof is imitation. And imitation is something that is inauthentic. When you do something out of time, that's like a maaseh kof. That means you're not conscious, you're not aware. Now we can take it in the narrowest sense of halacha itself, as we have it over here. So you say Kriya Shema at a time that isn't the time for Kriya Shema. You put the lechem on the shulchan at a time that isn't the time. It's like a maaseh kof. You're doing all the right things, but a kof can do that too. What you're not doing is in the right context. And context has two dimensions. Context is a dimension of time, and context is a dimension of place. So there's certain mitzvahs. Now it's interesting, the Gemara doesn't say if you bring a korban but not on the mizbeach, it's a maaseh kof. If you bring the shulchan, the lechem on the shulchan, but you put the shulchan somewhere else in the azora, it's a maaseh kof. The Gemara doesn't say that. If you do an avodah, you do a shchita, and you do it outside of the Beis Hamikdash, these things are all not allowed, but they're not called maaseh kof. So when the geographic context is out of place, that's not a maaseh kof, because a kof can watch. He knows geographic context. He can figure out, you do it here, you don't do it there. You do it enough times, he'll go to the right place, and the kof will do it in the right place. You can imitate place, but imitating sensitivity to time, to be time sensitive, that a monkey can't do. He doesn't know that. And when you see somebody doing something the right way, but the wrong time, that's a maaseh kof. We don't have time to go into it fully, but I want to touch on them so you can reflect on them and think about it. The one is an appropriateness of time, which is something that today we find which is very lacking. Just to behave in a way that is fitting with the circumstance, with the timing in which one is, to time things correctly. There's a time to say something. There's a time when the same thing said doesn't land well. You've got to time what it is that you say. And timing becomes critically important. Not only time as to when you say it all together, even if you're giving a shiur, you're giving a presentation, or you're in a business meeting, there's a time in the meeting to say something, and sometimes you miss the time, and it's gone, and you really are so sorry because it would have been such a good thing to say, but it's too late. It doesn't fit, it doesn't work. A kof will say it, nevertheless, you'll just say it, but it doesn't fit. It's wrong. It was the wrong time. The fact that it was a smart thing to say doesn't matter. To be sensitive to the time, to know when to interject, to know when to be present and when not, when to stand back and when to intervene. Being sensitive to time becomes terribly, terribly important. The same applies to eras. The Gedolei Yisrael in Eastern Europe used to say that they really hold it. Shimshon Raphael Hirsch is amazing because he was accepted by the Gedolei Yisrael in Eastern Europe, although his style was something that would not have been accepted in Eastern Europe. The style that he led, the style of Rabbonis that he had, the way he wrote and the way he spoke, that wouldn't have been accepted in Eastern Europe, but he was accepted. And the Gedolim used to say, because what he was doing was right for Germany. It wouldn't have been right in Eastern Europe. And Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch wouldn't have done that, wouldn't have spoken that way in Eastern Europe. Just as one is sensitive to the place, one has to be sensitive to the era and to the time. And therefore one has to be careful also to simply transplant Yiddishkeit from Eastern Europe to Yerushalayim or to Bnei Brak or to Ra'anana. That has a risk of being a Maisekov. There are certain, and to know when you do and when you don't. There are certain things that are not time sensitive. Certain things, who cares what time it is and what place? That's the halacha. That's how you do it. To know what you do adapt for timing and what you don't. And the poskim are brilliant at that. So you take Moshe Feinstein, how he kept halacha absolutely pure but adapted it to the needs of his time. You just see the working of a posek who really understands not only every detail in Shas and every possible dimension of halacha, and also takes the trouble to understand the circumstance of the person asking the shayla. And that's why Reb Moshe was always, as many great poskim was always careful to include the shayla in the tshuva, because you should know this tshuva was given to that person in that circumstance at that time. And I remember when they asked him about whether they could publish the bottom line of his psakim, just to know this is what Moshe Paskin so such and such. He said, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. It's Maisekov, because the bottom line that possibly only applied once ever to that person who asked the shayla. The whole reason I included the shayla is so that you should see my method of reasoning. If you follow my method of reasoning, then you'll apply it as you need in various different times. But to apply the bottom line, that's Maisekov. I don't think he used those words, but that's what he's saying, just to apply the bottom line without being sensitive. I remember I asked him a very difficult question about a situation in South Africa, and he said to me, great Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, he said, I can't answer that, because I'm not there. All I can do is I can teach you the Yesodis, and you have to answer it. And I tried to argue with him and plead that I couldn't and I wouldn't have it. He said, I'm not there. It's not possible. I said, but the halacha is the halacha. Yes, but I don't know the circumstance. I'm not in it. And the American poskim used to be very careful not to paskin shilas for Eretz Yisrael. And the Eretz Yisrael poskim used to be very careful to send the shilas to the poskim in the United States, because they're different worlds, different cultures, different times. And one has to be careful in everything, in one's speaking, in one's writing, in one's business dealings, all forms of communication, and certainly in halacha, to be able to function within the context, to be able to keep the purity and the authenticity, in this case of halacha, without chas v'sholom changing one little tiny detail of it, and yet being able to apply it into the context of time and place. That's why Rashi says, B'chisoron zman, shelo k'mitzvato b'chisoron zman, it's the wrong time, and that's naseh k'mo shesidro ha'kov shelo midato. If you do the right thing in the wrong time, that's a monkey thing. To do the right thing to do the wrong thing is not a monkey thing, that's you're doing wrong. But to do the right thing in the wrong time, that's acting like a monkey. That's what the Gemara is teaching us. An unbelievable concept to understand. Don't just imitate. Be careful to take the principle and apply the principle in a way that is shaykh to the time and place in which you find yourself, so that it's authentic and real and genuine, and it's not just taken from one place and applied to another place. And today we do that, not with technology even more, but even before technology. We look something up on Google and we just apply it, or we find the Shaila and Tshuva and we just apply it, or so-and-so said this, so there it is. We don't go through what it is. What's important is to understand the principles to understand the context and then to apply the principle to the context. And we learned the Meiri the other day, where the Meiri said halacha is not just psak, is not just about knowing the yediyas. You can know everything there is in Shas, but there's another seichel that you need. There's another intelligence that you need, which is the human intelligence, the ability to take principles and to apply them accurately in time and in place, that one comes out with something that is genuine and also authentic.